Good days, everybody. Happy to see all of you here in this event talking about AI transformation. Before introducing the panelists, I would like to just give you some brief numbers that I will think it will be a base for our today meeting. There is 75 million jobs will be displaced by 1 year from now. This is according to World Economic Forum. There's also around 30% of job worldwide will be lost by 2030. This is Forrester research. 40% of location-based jobs will be automated around the world by 2030. This is furniture newsletter. At the same time, while these risks will make all of us worried that we will lose jobs, and this is not one or two or thousands, this is millions of jobs. At the same time, AI is expected to contribute to almost 16 trillion to the global GDP, and this is according to PwC report. And 133 million new jobs will be created by AI just a year from now. This is according to Statista. There is also around 60 million new jobs will be created worldwide by a year from now. This is another statistics by World Economic Forum. And there's a huge revenue expected by next year and by 2025, and there is by 2030. There is a huge potential. There is a lot of opportunities. At the same time, there is a huge risk. There is a contradiction on these numbers, where we want our panelists to really help us understand what is the situation and how we can be with me today four amazing and really great speakers. I have Chiranjiv Roy, Dr. Chiranjiv Roy. He's Senior Vice President for Data Science and Analytics. He is also a member in Forbes Technology Council. He's also entrepreneur and research in international technology law, AI governance, and technology policy. He's involved in rendering innovation policies solutions in the domain of AI ethics. Divya Dwivedi. She is a practicing advocate at the Supreme Court of India with a background of engineering in AI and IT, MBA in international business, IGOAI in public and private international law, PG in international environment law, along with couple PGs in women and gender studies. Her primary focus is now in public policy advisory, alongside responsibility, trustworthy, and ethics of AI in connection to law. She is an active contributor in several international think tanks and is also international speaker. I have also Mr. Abhivardhan. He is managing partner Indic Pacific Legal Research, and also chairperson, managing trustee, Indian Society of AI and Law. I have also with me Mr. Sriram Bhargav. He is head of AI and intelligent automation. He is very passionate in AI, robotics evangelist. He is also head of AI and intelligent automation for Provenio. As well, he is also, in his previous role, was the head of AI and automation and web technologies for Asia Pacific. This is a very short summary of their profiles, and we will start trying to understand where we are in AI, And then we will be trying to discover the potential for AI. And we will also see what we should expect in future. So the first question will be going to Dr. Chiranjiv Roy. I would like to know from your experience. We heard about AI since 1950s. I'm not there during 1950s, but we know that that time the concept was there. People, they were talking about it. The definition started from 1950s, but suddenly in the last 3 years, everybody started talking about AI. Where is AI since then?
Thank you, Ahmed, and um, greetings to everyone today who have joined in. Of course, as Ahmed said, even I was also not there when AI started having a discussion. I was not even born. But what has happened throughout these last few years, every innovation, right? We call AI as an innovation, as in initially AI started with an automation, and today AI is called as the new oil or the new soil, whatever that you want to call it, right? AI is an enabler today, and what that means is the best computer in the world which can do processing. When the evolution of computer happened, which is the evolution of technology, artificial intelligence has been an enabling intelligence methodology for every human being. Please do understand that human brain cannot be surpassed by any artificial intelligence um, enabler or a technology. Artificial intelligence needs to understand certain problems, certain topics, how human being understands, right? And try to optimize it according to how the situation's changed. So it needs to sustain on its learning. Over the last 3 decades, what has happened is that during the hype phase, every innovation goes through hype, right? AI also went through that hype. And during this hype phase, the contributors thought it will sabotage the way human beings work. However, in the last 3 years, as Ahmed just mentioned, or 5 years, I would say, its actual implementation to help human being take certain decisions has become much more commoditized. What do we see in the future? AI can certainly never displace human beings. What it will do is it will understand each and every area. It started with the internet, e-commerce, OTT platforms like Netflix and so on and so forth. It will understand the overlying data behind a particular process, right? It will understand how the people work with that data, and people will train AI to start doing few things which needs to solve the problem. Even if it is law, it is anybody in the traditional environments. But as like every innovation, you just cannot set a bulb and you will feel that the entire city is lit. There is an architecture that needs to be built. It needs to be non-biased, right? I don't want the light bulb to be only in my home. It has to lit the entire city, right? Same way, artificial intelligence needs to evolve along with the human being. Human being takes artificial intelligence as an enabler and makes it viable for the um, for the world to work. That is how AI will evolve. So that's where we can stand. Thank you.
Thank you, Chiranjeev. Um, Coming back to Divya, as Chiranjeev said, AI is innovation, and it needs time to be mature and be adapted. Legal laws, ethics, it is always blamed that it is not following the digital transformation needs for having the right laws. Even at the same time, they don't. There is no much solutions that satisfy this industry. So do you think with AI, there will be fast pace and there will be leapfrogging where we will have the laws and ethics ready and mature to make this successful? What is your view, Divya?
Wow, thank you, Ahmed. It's quite intriguing question. I won't say we, Stanford is working on AI and law since 1956, I would say. And they also say the same thing as Chiranjiv said, that AI is an enabler and we don't have to see it as a threat for ourselves. Like when computers came, every human, at least in developing and developed countries also, they were like, we will lose our jobs, we'll have no jobs left. But then computer also became enabler in finding new jobs. Job profile will change. It's not like we'll be jobless. And obviously human brain cannot be surpassed by AI. I see AI as a baby. Like we feed baby all the information and they grow and they tell us that we are beyond you. It's similar with AI. We are threatened by that. Whenever I'm teaching my students, I teach LLM kids, and I was telling them that there is no way AI can bypass anything, whatever we can think of. We are thinking right now, we are sitting here, we are thinking about only AI. There is a possibility to tomorrow there will be some super intelligent AI like in movies, like in Transformers or all those amazing movies. There are robot movies and iRobot and all those. They show that how much we can think as humans. That is not going to happen with AI anytime sooner. At least not for me. I never say that. And when it comes to lawyers or legal aspects of it, what I think is whatever way we would try and bind AI in some periphery, that is not going to help us. It has never till now helped humans. If we are restricted at some point, we tend to find another way to bypass that law or responsibility or duty. Similarly, it will happen with AI also, because the way I would give two examples. There is something which Stanford is right now working, where I was learning a lot from their professors. They are talking about foundational model now. They are talking about computational law as much as they can. They are trying to bind it somewhere, which is not going to help us. It has never helped humans also. Like if you or me, we are bound by so many laws, we tend to try and find a place to run away, or to tend to find a way to bypass that law system itself. If we are restricted in one country, we migrate to some other country. So AI will definitely shift to some other way. It's not like AI is going to take on human race. I don't think we should be worried about that, at least for not next 2-3 generations. But what I find very, very helpful with technology, see, I'm sitting in a village right now and I'm connected with you. I'm connected with pretty much anybody I want in the world. So technology is helping. And for me, technology is actually helping women. Technology is helping environment. Technology is actually helping everywhere. If we know how to use technology, I'm putting this condition, this asterisk over there, that conditions are applied. If you know how to use technology, you will never be bypassed. You will never lose sight of it. Technology will not take over. My women, where I work for my NGO, my women are now connected by internet, and they learn from pretty much any professor in the world. I'm fortunate enough to provide that. That's because of technology. And you can see, this is my village, this is my ancestral home, and I'm connected. This is what I was trying to show everyone around here for past 15 years. And all of a sudden, I shouldn't say this out in public probably, that COVID has helped, but it has helped. We have taken a jump of more than 10 years now, which we could never have thought before, but it has happened. Now, coming back to your question, again, I'll say they will not take over. They can never take over. Because we'll find an off switch for sure. It is going to happen. We'll find some off switch for AI also. Even if it becomes super intelligent AI, doesn't matter. So for me, we are not going anywhere except without the help of human brain. If some guy finds a way of not giving us off switch to AI, then maybe they will take over, but not yet. And legal fraternity, I don't think they have to fear about it. They should rather start learning it. That's what I keep on telling my colleagues as well. Don't think of it as an enemy for your work. They will not find a contract which will be so clear that a human brain cannot make a better one from. Because we come up with some problem with for every solution, some answer for every question, and some question for every answer for that matter. So they cannot find the perfect contract. And I do draft contracts. I know AI can develop good contracts, but not better than me, for sure. And I learn from the best people. So that's what I can say. And I think I may have bypassed a couple of minutes extra. So apologies from my side. I'll now refrain from speaking any further. I'll do it later. Thank you so much, Ahmed. I hope I have pinpointed something.
Actually, you opened a wide subject that we can discuss the whole time, and it is very nice. I was discussing it with my mother, and she said the same thing. They will never replace the intelligence of human. But when you talk about with the scientists, they will say they have the abilities that human they cannot do. For example, if you put indicator or sensor in your body, it will see from your body motion if there is a break or a problem that a normal doctor will not be able to discover it. But collecting these information, and sometimes these information are collected without my permission, this is not ethical. And the same way, likewise, maybe driver job will be lost because there is an AI driver. But if the AI driver, he crashed me in the road, who to blame? Should I blame the driver or the owner of the car or the manufacturer? I think this is a question to you,
Ahmed,
Abhivardhan.
that it's not coming to India anytime sooner. It's not. AI cannot
you don't
in
know.
India, for sure.
Maybe in not in this village, but it will be in another place. But let's see. How mature is our laws? How we will be?
I think we'll go to Abhivardhan. Just giving your answer, Ahmed. The best GPU, which is in processing and technology, uses 1 billion neurons. Our brain is 86 billion neurons. So we are 86 times faster than the best computer. Right? So we cannot never replace. So it's never be replaced.
But some jobs will be replaced. The idea, now 75%
I would say
of
some jobs would be enhanced. Right? So you do not need to create a draft, but you would enhance your methodology to take decisions.
But don't you think this is a diplomatic answer? It will be enhanced. For you, you are able to change yourself. But for many people, they are having difficulties. For example, Kodak. If you remember the story of Kodak, they have the digital camera concept. They built it inside their premises. They did not introduce it. Who introduced it? Sony. In 1981, Sony introduced digital camera. It was there in 1975 with Kodak, but they were not able to leave the chemical work that they are doing and go for digital. So the problem sometimes on the workers, they are not able to change. I remember in my age, many people, they were writing letters in the road, in the market. For people, they have table and they write it by hand. And when computers came, they've been replaced. Okay, what is their job now? They are at home because they were not able to adapt and learn. So definitely some people will lose their job because of their capacity. But I want to just really understand our backbone. If you help us, Abhivardhan, what is our backbone? What is our where is our protection? How mature is it?
A very excellent question, I must say, and I agree with the panelists that artificial intelligence is not going to be as technocratic as the hypes and the science fiction stories do reflect largely. However, having that said, we have to understand that technology is something which has various characteristics. It's not just about their scientific features. For example, we could not have imagined after Alfred Nobel was the person behind creating a dynamite that the First and Second World War could happen. And why did that happen was not just the political game. It had also other considerations as how technology's growth and its trends and the way scientific research community used to see technology was much important there. Technology is sophisticated and also transformed during the Cold War era. So after the Cold War, as we are in a multipolar global order, where we see that artificial intelligence, blockchain, and other technologies are getting some edge, of course, it is scientifically true that artificial intelligence technologies, because see, everything is not AI. They are just, because it's an abstract term, which simply means that they are machine learning based systems, or let's say AI systems in a very average sense. When they have an influence per se, the question is, what sort of influence does that have? What are the economic problems? So on your question, my very simple answer would be that currently the maturity is yet to come. And this is not just about the Indian experience, it's also about the American and other experiences which are there. And the reason is that yes, there are tools which are able to replace and they are able to make accessibility possible. You have to understand that the history of technology shows that accessibility is the main feature why technology works. For example, the example of personal computing. Steve Jobs came up with the Macintosh, and after that, Steve Jobs failed, then next came, and then he came back again. But we all know then that when Windows and Apple came up with their operating systems and their personal computing avenues, things changed radically, and America became a leader, which actually it originated in which is personal computing. And then, of course, now there are competitors across the world, including Huawei, even some are in India, maybe. The OS is a different issue, but in personal computing, things are happening faster. So competition is something which is there. But to be very honest in this, I think to end this very briefly, I would say that the maturity in law has to come. It can be simple in very mediocre and normal things like, okay, fine, I have to file a contract. There are some very basic formalities which I have to attain. Can I automate it? I can tell you one example and then I end it. And then, of course, I'll take further questions accordingly. The Election Commission of India has come up with an AI assistant, which is now telling people that, okay, fine, you want to register your voter ID. How will you do it? Using chat, which it's like a chat, like a chatbot. They're saying, okay, fine, it's a chatbot. Now you tell me what details you want. I will help you. They have done the same with Arogya Setu app, and I think the government of India will do in terms of education also with AI. So let us see. I think there is a much matter of influence and competence as how technology influences us. It's not about whether it is capable. Of course, capability is something which is a very important matter. But what are the anthropological implications is something I very much look forward to.
Hello. Yes, I think the voice was cutting. I didn't hear the last word, but I think I spiced it up at the beginning when I said, there's a risk of jobs and there's also opportunities. And although I'm agreeing with all of you, but I will be against you here, and I will say AI will win and will take over our jobs and our life. And also to see also from a Sriram experience, if I have agenda for AI, I want to do AI. Most of companies, they heard about AI, the benefit of AI, they want to do AI. The minister drive his ministry guys do AI. He don't know what is AI, what do he want. But guys, start this project. Where we should start? What is the priority? How to build our? Can you just tell us what is our key, let's say, focus and direction, Sriram?
Sure, Ahmed. Thank you. Every enterprise today is struggling with multiple challenges, if I may say that. I often try and simplify explaining what are the priorities organizations or enterprises should take. I hope you've all seen this. This is a Rubik's Cube. This is what I use to step my day in the lockdown. But let's consider this as an enterprise. Let's consider this as an organization. there are multiple colors. The colors could stand for productivity and efficiency, reporting, customer experience, technology, risk and compliance, shareholder value. Um, Literally every enterprise today is struggling with all of this. And essentially, there are humans doing this constantly to ensure that it comes to one color. So that means that everything is synchronized. But automation essentially, with the help of AI and machine learning and related technologies, is helping organizations do it faster. And that is, let's all agree that it is very critical that people understand this. But when you juggle all of this, traditionally organizations have worked in a particular manner and have operated in a particular manner, but all of a sudden now they are now presented with technologies like AI, machine learning, and they have to adopt it at very quick pace and very quick cycles in order to show time to value and show outcomes. So what organizations have to be clearly doing is, number one, the first and foremost thing is they have to educate their people, whether it is at the top layer, the medium layer, and the bottom layer. Everybody has to be educated about artificial intelligence, about the benefits of artificial intelligence, and for the most important point, that it is not there to replace jobs, it is there to augment humans. As long as everybody understands that it is a technology which can augment humans, humans will become better. We have all seen this green revolution, industrial revolution, whether it is machines. Humans will never allow machines to take over. I can make this bold statement. So at the end of the day, what organizations are now doing, apart from education, the second one is essentially look at adopting these technologies fairly quickly and straightforward into every project. People have this problem of, will it work? Will it give accuracies? I kind of always keep saying to enterprises that come out of the closet and start adopting AI. Enough of POCs, enough of pilots. Let's put it into production. It will not kill you. It will not take over the world. So essentially, what organizations have to come out of the closet and start utilizing AI, because there is enough out there which proves that AI can be used ethically. AI can be used for explaining what it has done, which we call as explainable AI. So, and it is risk-free at this stage because there is enough out there, enough projects out there, enough examples out there to prove that AI is there to stay, and AI is there to scale for every organization. Thanks, Ahmed.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, I think I will spice it up back again with the expert in data science. Tell us what is the trend and how we can empower AI so it can take over a human role. Are with me, Chiranjiv? Yes.
Yeah, I just lost you in between. If you can just repeat once again.
Okay, so the question, I want to spice it up back again. Since you are expert in data science, what is the trends? What is the new practices? And how we can empower AI with the data science so it can take over our role?
Fantastic. So I will converge from where Sriram left. And he very well said that the utilization or actually creating some value through artificial intelligence lies on three different things. It's the people and the process and the technology. We are very well equipped on technology today. What needs to be there is the people and the process. Now, people, of course, we all, right? And everybody needs to adapt to AI. The process part is the most typical part, and that is where artificial intelligence brings in the co-enablers or tools in this perspective, which is data analytics, data engineering, and data sciences. Data sciences, through its data engineering and data analytics or visualization, helps human being to start developing decisions or try to come up with decisions from the perspective. One of the examples is, since I come from the autonomous driving and self-driving area majorly, right, as in manufacturing automotives, when a car is driving on the road with a cruise control with no human intervention, it would personally not be able to understand whether it should be saving the human being or the cat, right? It is a very difficult decision for that perspective, and it needs to be trained. How do we train the algorithms? That is through the kind of data that we put in. The data is learned by the data science algorithms, right? In practice, not more than 5% of data science algorithm which has been invented for the last, and data science is all about majorly mathematics, physics, and the linear knowledge that we have. So that brings into the picture that you understand the process, that this is a human being, this is his features, this is the structure, and this is a cat. This is the kind of decision that needs to be made, right? That empowers the signal to the car to take a certain amount of decision. The car should be able to understand that the human being can stop because it is able to see there is a car which is coming. Cat does not have that kind of a brain, right? So you need to make decision much more faster. Data science, through its entire pipeline of data, learns. The automation of data science is what we call as machine learning, basically. And that is what is put into any kind of methodology or the product that we put in. That's the 4 stages of AI product: engineering the data, analyzing the data, creating scientific methodologies on the data. And once you have what needs to be solved, right, which is, we call it hypotheses, we go ahead and put it into an automation framework, which is created by machine learning or deep learning.
Excellent. Excellent. So with all these learnings and machine learning and deep learning, Ms. Divya, how can this help cyber legal issues related to gender?
You have mixed so many in one place. Now I have to explain everything from my perspective and my understanding. So when I started learning AI, it was almost 16 years ago, when it was only neural networks, nothing else, because that's when it came in India. I passed my engineering in 2005, so that's pretty much the end of what I understood then. And when I moved on, I started understanding more and more about human psychology as well. That psychology shows that when you want to learn something, you will determine yourself, you will learn, and you will earn, and nobody can replace, like Sriram sir said, that humans won't let any machine or AI, or for that matter, anything, to take over human race itself. So for me, AI or anything is definitely, like everyone is saying, is an enabler. When it comes to cyber issues or anything, I always keep on saying during talks that people have to be aware. That awareness part is definitely missing from a huge number of population. Like, if they are not aware how to use even their mobile devices, if they do not have an idea how to access a website, what website to access and what not to access, these are very basic things I'm talking about, because I do work on ground level, so I see that firsthand. So my problem arises as in when people say, what is wrong in it? If somebody is taking my data, what is wrong in it? Even if they're processing that data, what is wrong in it? And this is not coming from illiterate people. It's from the people who are very well established in society. Even my parents, my mom is a psychology professor, and she ended up saying, what is wrong in it? It's okay. Kya farak padta? It doesn't matter if your data is going somewhere. So I had to tell her that you are enabling a whole company, you and your kind of people, by providing them data. That is how cyber misuse happens. And you have to understand the cyber psychology. before blaming it to technology, because who's running the technology is another aspect. So you have to understand who's actually running that particular technology. Why is it happening? Why is our privacy being infringed? Like you said in your last statement that privacy is infringed. Somebody is taking your data. Why are you providing the data? Stop using smartphones. Right. So it's a very simple answer. If you end up saying all these things, it becomes negative statement. But for me, to make people understand, you have to be a little bit harsh at times. I think that should be there. And in last question, when Abhivardhan was answering about government of India has introduced AI in class 8th now. They have an option of learning it from class 8 in India. And it's almost similar in US and other countries where I work with. So that's how it grows. And for you to understand how you have to be cyber secure, you have to understand. Everybody has a phone.
Okay.
We reached it out, but then we did not teach them. We have no cyber awareness. We have no AI awareness. Frankly, we have no awareness of our own rights, be it cyber, be it anything, doesn't matter. So I think I have again crossed my time. It's just my passion area, so I end up speaking a lot.
Yeah, thank you, Divya. Yeah, we have 10 minutes, and I want to also give the chance to Abhivardhan and Sriram to give their views. For Abhivardhan, I want to know, in the legal side, how we can make the laws and ethics more enablers, and what do you think our future in this aspect?
With the rest of the panelists, I must say very humbly that the problem is that law can connect with technological disruptions whatsoever they are. Let's take the simplest example. So recently there's a very famous case, and it has become famous on social media, which is known as Thaler. I think it is the Thaler case, which is related to a software known as Dabus. And the inventor of Dabus, a human being, has gone to a particular court in Australia for the particular aspects of registering it under patent law, which is intellectual property law. So what they have done is that, okay, Dabus is the AI, which is actually, which has invented something particularly. Now the judge has given a very interesting opinion, which is related to your question and why it is. The judge has said that yes, you can say that there's a difference between patentee, somebody who will hold the patent's ownership, and somebody who invents. There can be possibilities where artificial intelligence systems can develop something. But the problem is that, and the judge rightly pointed out, that the issue is not whether the AI can be invented. The issue is what kind of AI you have and what many kinds of systems you have. It's also about, it's kind of like an animal kingdom. It's a diaspora of various technologies. And that is something which comes into being, and that has a very big role to play. Now, with respect to the larger part of the question as to how it can become a reasonable enabler, I have one very simple answer to give. And the answer is, if we focus on the anthropological problem here, I think a bigger solution to this is, let us focus on a bottom-top approach. And that bottom-top approach starts with your subordinate courts, as well as your panchayats, as well as, I'm giving the Indian example so that we can correlate it with the global example. So I'm giving the Indian example. You have your subordinate juridical authorities, you have your panchayats, and all of them have a proper natural language processing analysis, because there are many regional languages. Diversity is something important. At the same time, there was a paper on how English is imposed using AI by Timnit Gebru, who left Google. She said it very clearly that the problem is that you can't just make everything monopolized under the same language. So diversity has to be protected, which is a very important cultural as well as human rights question, because there are very diverse communities across the world, whether Asia, whether Europe, whether North America, whether Latin America. So that part, if it is understood from a ground level perspective as to what, it can be anything, it can be any mediocre or normal AI technology which is being used for, I don't know, verification purposes or identification purposes or education, very basic education stuff. It can be for adults who have not been literate enough and they want to learn something new, not just English, but also other languages and maybe other things, because skill development has a lot to do with things which actually, as to accessibility, how much are you understanding? It's beyond language. As Ms. Divya ji rightly pointed out, I remember in the national education policy, the government of India has decided to use machine learning to translate various, I believe, NCRT books. I don't know. It's the CBSE NCRT books into various regional languages: Tamil, Telugu, Hindi, Bhojpuri. I want it in more. There are hundreds of languages in India. It should happen in more. So it's a very good way to protect nativity and then go on with the development. So the legal development, it's not that, okay, fine, some fine day you will come in court and give a judgment and then, you just impose it and then the solution is reached. It's not possible. The best idea is you need a lot of research, you need anthropological and data research at the same time, and then you need to ensure that at a community level, at every district or maybe most districts where it is democratized, is a country. So yeah, that's it, I would end.
Thank you. Yeah, nice. Thank you. Yeah, I think in the recording, maybe it will not be seen. Divya was saying Australia also has given copyright to AI, but honor human only. So coming to Sriram, during the pandemic, everybody struggled, but maybe small and medium businesses will have faced the worst situation because they don't have the right stand or the right capabilities. But knowing that AI is for many organizations also simple and can be attained, it is not only for large enterprises. So how small and medium businesses can utilize AI and machine learning to leverage increase in efficiencies and bypass these difficult times?
Sure, great question. Thanks, Ahmed. Look, as everybody knows, the pandemic has created havoc with many businesses across the world. There are several companies who are kind of forced to adopt technology to ensure that they are afloat and they are back in normalcy. Let me take an example of Australia and give you a sense of how Australian small and medium businesses have used AI to kind of improvise what they're doing and improve efficiencies and transform. The example is about freight, transport, and logistics companies. In Australia, road freight is predominant mode of transport for urban, interurban, and regional freight. It's part of the supply chain for literally most of the imports in Australia. Even resource industries, which may which heavily relies on coastal shipping for internal aspects, they still depend on road freight. Now, typically when freight companies, especially during the pandemic, they are completely under the pump in terms of the amount of work which they're getting, because freight and transportation and logistics is the most critical part when you have lockdowns and shutdowns. So companies essentially can often spend multi-million dollars on freight charges every year. We've seen companies spending 25, 40, 50, $100 million every year on just freight charges, right? The volumes and the value of freight essentially, it's a continuous process, and it's almost a day-to-day process. I'll take an example of simple invoice processing, which essentially has to be done every day in order to pay companies and for the services which they have done. So what essentially is a pain point in this area is that the invoice validation for freight related aspects has to be checked line by line. Every invoice has to be read line by line. Every invoice has to be validated line by line against things like fuel levies, rate cards, demerit charges, and those kind of things. Now, what has happened is during this pandemic, where people will really have to attend to other people's needs and do some important work, instead of checking line by line and validating information, people have turned to AI. Now, imagine artificial intelligence looking at all the invoices, reading it line by line, ripping through line by line, and essentially calculating every single charge on the particular invoice, which essentially means that it is literally ripping everything out of the invoice, extracting everything out of the invoice, classifying everything out of the invoice. And essentially, instead of the human going and using a calculator and calculating everything, it is calculating every single every single line item, and then telling the human being, look, this is green, this is red, but this is orange, right? Orange means there is a $1 problem here, versus the red means that, look, somebody has created a big mistake. Imagine giving back almost close to 4 or 5 hours for a person who's actually handling about 2,000 or 3,000 shipments in a day. So this is the real value which AI is providing. This is a simple example. Now, what it has done, it has prevented almost close to 13 to 15% of revenue leakage for companies. Just by AI looking at invoices and validating them and telling the human being, saying that this is good, bad, or ugly, it has prevented revenue leakage of almost close to anywhere between 10 to 15%. Now, obviously, the technology has to understand everything. So it's a combination of several complex technologies, including optical character recognition, intelligent character recognition, natural language processing, custom machine learning models, RPA, which is robotic process automation, then intuitive human in the loop layers for exception handling and stuff like that, and essentially a comprehensive analytics layer, which is backed by proper data science. So here's an example of how you can take the simplest of processes, apply AI, but get huge benefits, which essentially is at 10 to 15% of revenue leakage. So here's one example of how small and medium-sized businesses companies, now this is applied for FMCG companies, retail companies, all small and medium mom and pop shops who are essentially struggling with manpower, are turning towards simple solutions from AI and making it completely transforming their business process. So just an example, and I'm sure this is across the world, people are using.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Sriram. The organizer are asking me to conclude, but they asked me to give you yes or no, but I'll give you one statement. What do you think, who will win the battle, AI or people? Chiranjiv, can you say your point? Just
both will coexist. So they will share the medal. They will share the medal. It will coexist.
They will coexist. And Divya?
He took my statement. They have to coexist. I was not about to say they will. They have to coexist because there is no other way.
Okay. What about you, Abhivardhan?
I believe the people more than the AI, but there should be a proportional relationship. So I definitely agree with all.
What about you, Sriram?
I believe that AI and humans will coexist, but humans will always have the upper hand.
Okay, nice. I think the time is too short. For this discussion, lovely discussion. I enjoyed it. It should be spent for hours, but it was very short. I think the team, the delegates, the panelists have answered the questions. Data science is very important for AI to learn and build the capacity and abilities. We have great capacity and abilities in the laws and legal side. It can help if we think about AI as expensive and it will spend a lot of money. Think about the losses that you are encountering because of not applying AI. It have a huge potential for small and medium business as well enterprises. For me, although I sound that like pro AI and robotics, but I agree with all the team. I think AI is a key enabler. It will help. Human will be always on top, but there is losses in jobs because people ability to change. They have to change, they have to adapt, they have to learn, they have to know that we'll be going to another shift, and this shift for them to learn and change, otherwise they will definitely lose their jobs. Thank you very much. Thank to GEC Media Group, and looking forward to see you in the coming future.